Supreme Court Collegium has rejected the centre's objections to the elevation of two top court judges. Now, the Supreme Court Collegium had sent its recommendations to the centre. However, those had been earlier rejected by the centre and sent back to the Collegium. But now the Collegium has reiterated its recommendations on Justices Aniruddha, Bose and Justice A.S. Bopanna as judges of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court Collegium has said that merit should be given the predominant consideration. So the Supreme Court then sending back its recommendations and reiterating its position that they do want these two judges to be elevated to the Supreme Court, even though the centre sent the names back having certain misgivings or certain issues regarding that the elevation of these two judges. Now, the Supreme Court Collegium said that we have carefully considered the observations made by the Department of Justice in the aforesaid file while referring back to the Collegium for reconsideration the recommendations made by us on the 12th of April for the appointment of Justice Aniruddha Bose, the Chief Justice of the Jharkhand High Court, and Justice A.S. Bopanna, Chief Justice of the Guwahati High Court, as judges of the Supreme Court. The Collegium is of the view that, as laid down by the Supreme Court in its opinion, and they give the reference that though seniority amongst judges in their high courts and their combined seniority on all India basis should be given due weightage, merit should be the predominant consideration. So the Supreme Court Collegium there reiterating its recommendations to actually promote these two judges to the Supreme Court, saying that it should be on the basis also of merit and not just what the centre had to say regarding certain misgivings they had about the tenure and seniority. The Collegium saying merit should be given predominant consideration, and that is why they are rejecting the centre's objections to the elevation of these two judges, and they are reiterating their recommendation regarding them. So they have recommended once again that Justices Aniruddha Bose and Justice A.S. Bopanna should be elevated as judges of the Supreme Court. Now, Justice Aniruddha Bose is the Chief Justice of the Jharkhand High Court, and Justice A.S. Bopanna is the Chief Justice of the Guwahati High Court. And the Collegium going on to say that it's of the view that, as laid down by the Supreme Court in its own opinion, that judges in their high courts and that the seniority amongst judges in their high court and their combined seniority on an all India basis should be given due weightage, but merit should be the predominant consideration. So the Collegium accordingly kept in mind these parameters while recommending the above two names. So rejecting the centre's objections to the elevation of these two judges to the Supreme Court. The Collegium also went on to say, in view of the above, on due consideration of all aspects mentioned in the file, the Collegium resolves to reiterate the aforementioned recommendation dated 12th of April, especially since nothing adverse regarding competence, conduct or integrity of either of the justices has been pointed out. So the centre, they're sending back those two names, the recommendations that were made on the 12th of April, the centre rejecting it, sending those two names back on and possibly having misgivings regarding their seniority. But the Collegium then saying that it's not just seniority that is being considered, that it should also be merit based, and that is the other consideration, which is why that the Collegium is recommending the two names, and they have now rejected the centre's issues and sent these two names back, once again recommending the elevation of these two judges to the Supreme Court.